I plug in my mic, put my earphones on, and settle into my own little space where I envision you on the other end. I always set a strong intention before every recording that the information be helpful to someone, somewhere out in the wide, wide world. And after 15 months of episodes, the podcast has been listened to on all continents and in over 50 countries. I feel so honored that you've pressed play and invited me into your life. Welcome to the Relationship Diversity Podcast, where we celebrate, question, and explore all aspects of relationship structure diversity, from soloamory to monogamy to polyamory and everything in between, because every relationship is as unique as you are. We'll bust through societal programming to break open and dissect everything we thought we knew about relationships, to ask the challenging but transformational questions: who am I, and what do I really want in my relationships? I'm your guide, Carrie Jaroslaw, best-selling author, speaker, intuitive, and coach. Join me as we reimagine all that our most intimate relationships can become. How is it possible that we're at the end of 2023? Can anyone else relate to the feeling that this year flew by in the blink of an eye? This was a big year for me. Lots of ups and downs, lots of firsts, ones I wanted and ones I didn't. Through it all, I had this podcast to breathe and relax into. It's been a calming place for me. I plug in my mic, put my earphones on, and settle into my own little space where I envision you on the other end. I always set a strong intention before every recording that the information be helpful to someone, somewhere out in the wide, wide world. And after 15 months of episodes, the podcast has been listened to on all continents and in over 50 countries. I feel so honored that you've pressed play and invited me into your life. I always love when I get an email from a listener seeking more information or guidance about their personal experience. I want to know what you want to learn about. Stay tuned to hear more about how we can start engaging in the conversation together in the new year. This is my 80th episode, and for those people who are finding the podcast now, it can be a little daunting to sift through the 79 other episodes to find what you're really needing. I've talked about so many topics having to do with relationship diversity, intimate relationships with others, and cultivating the most important relationship with yourself. At the end of my first year and at the midway point of 2023, I decided to do an end-of-year and mid-year review to help you navigate through the catalog of episodes. I still get feedback that these episodes are really helpful for those who are busy and don't have the time to sift through it themselves. I'm going to link those two episodes, episode 28, End of 2022 Year in Review, and episode 52, Mid-Year 2023 Review, in the show notes so you can take 15 to 20 minutes to listen to the recap and jump right to the episode with the topic that's most up for you. And then, when and if you have more time, you can continue to work through the others. This year, in addition to my solo episodes, I continued my conversation series. I had such juicy conversations about debunking non-monogamy myths, transcending monogamy and polyamory to move towards relational freedom, swinging, fat justice, the relationship escalator, and non-monogamous people pleasers. I always say that relationship diversity is so much bigger than me, and that these conversations bring in perspectives that I don't have. Many times I'm learning right alongside with you. In addition to bringing on these experts to teach us new things, I also started another series called Lived Experiences. In it, we talk to real people like you and me to hear their experience living in their own unique relationship structure. There's so much power in hearing other people's story, which can also create an opening for self-reflection and awareness. No two people have lived the exact same past, and I think hearing about people's past help us to understand their present moment, which can cultivate greater understanding, empathy, and connection, and hopefully begin to heal the divisiveness that is so prevalent in our world today. So, without further ado, here is a recap of the past 27 episodes spanning from June 22nd, 2023 to the present. Episode 53, Conversations with Jess Lynn about debunking non-monogamy myths. In this episode, I talk with coach and therapist Jess Lynn, who specializes in non-monogamy for newbies. When starting your exploration into a new structure, such as non-monogamy, it's likely that all your judgments will rise to the surface. Jess and I debunk many of those myths, including that it's just all about sex and that non-monogamous people have a hard time with commitment. I really appreciated this conversation because it speaks to many of the untruths that people who've never had any experience with the structure place on it and replaces them with more accurate information. Episode 54, Navigating the Bardo, Embracing Personal Growth and Healing After a Breakup. Have you ever heard the term bardo? Bardo is an idea that originates from Tibetan Buddhism and refers to an intermediate state between death and rebirth. In this episode, I talk about the time after an ending of a relationship and how to make the most of that time. We tend to gravitate towards what is known in any situation, but spending time in the unknown moment of the bardo can be the best thing you could do to catapult your healing and personal growth. Episode 55, Conversations with Nikita Wren Thigpen about boundaries and intentional selfishness. In this conversation with Nikita, a trauma specialist, sexologist, and relationship expert, we talk all about the sacred side of selfishness. We explore the significance of unlearning and learning in relationships and how she's used selfishness to heal generational wounding. As we discuss radical responsibility, Nikita shares her insights on the importance of communication, creative play, and tapping into our intuition to strengthen our intimate bonds. Episode 56, Opening Up Part 1, When You Want to Open Your Relationship and Your Partner Doesn't. Have you ever wondered how to navigate the tricky terrain of non-monogamy or how to handle resistance when you're the one ready to open up but your partner isn't? In one of my most listened to solo episodes, I give you 5 steps to help you move from disconnection to connection and from confusion to clarity. I explore the importance of open and honest communication and share insights on the essential role of self-reflection and education in this crucial relationship shift. Honoring your individual paths while nurturing your connection is key. This takes intention, awareness, and a willingness to seek compromise. If you find yourself with this circumstance, go listen to this episode right away. Episode 57, Exploring Relationship Success, Conversations with Whitney Walker. In this episode, I have a conversation with Whitney Walker, a licensed marriage and family therapist, where we talk about what defines relationship success. We also explore relationship identity and look at how spirituality can bring a different lens to how we see ourselves in our intimate relationships. Episode 58, Opening Up Part 2, When Your Partner Wants to Open Your Relationship and You Don't. This is part 2 of my opening up episodes, and this one switches the perspective to your partner wanting to open up your relationship and you are the one who is hesitant or unsure. I discuss ways to help you navigate this process if you find yourself on this end of the conversation. I talk about prioritizing self-care, effectively communicating your feelings and boundaries, and understanding the triggers and responses that surface during the process. We create a safe space together for you to explore your emotions. and free you to design your unique relationship experience that aligns with the unique individuals involved. Episode 59, Transcending Monogamy and Polyamory, a deep dive into relational freedom with Dr. Jorge Ferrer. In one of my most listened to conversations, I had the honor of talking with Dr. Jorge Ferrer, a renowned clinical psychologist and author who shares his fascinating journey through various relationship structures and his advocacy for relational freedom. He speaks about the monopoly wars, the division often found between those who choose monogamy and those who choose polyamory, and offers his thoughts about how to transcend the divisiveness, leading you to what he calls relational freedom. Episode 60, How Identifying Your Priorities Can Inform Your Relationship Structure. Your priorities can play an important role in shaping the structure of your relationships and ultimately your happiness. In this solo episode, I talk about the complexities of the different relationship structures by understanding the unique priorities that can fuel each one. I also offer a 5-step process that can assist you in gaining clarity on your evolving priorities and how they can guide you on your personal and relational journey. Episode 61, An Open Conversation About Swinging with Joe Levitt. In this episode, I have a conversation with lifestyle and confidence coach Joe Levitt. We share a no-holds-barred discussion on this often misunderstood world, with Joe bringing her 17 years of personal experience and expertise. We shed light on the myths and misconceptions and highlight the pillars of communication, trust, and respect in this lifestyle. I loved this episode, especially because I don't have any experience in this relationship structure and learned so much from Joe. If you have interest in exploring swinging and want to challenge your ideas about what it is and what it isn't, check this episode out. Episode 62, Navigating Stress and Its Impact on Our Relationships, a very personal share. In this solo episode, I open up about my mother's recent passing and how her quick illness and death brought an entirely new level of stress into my life. I break down how stress affected my relationships and share tips that help me move through the grief and stress with as much grace and self-compassion as possible. These tips actually brought me closer to my partners and deepened the intimacy between us. If you're experiencing grief or are overwhelmed with stress, this is the episode for you. Episode 63, Is it possible to move from triggered to trigger-free? A conversation with Reno Murata. In this episode, I have a conversation with relationship coach Reno Murata. Reno bravely shares her personal story from her early years of identifying triggers to her experiences as a mom of 3, demonstrating the power and growth that comes from understanding our triggers. Together with Reno, we look at what triggers are, healing from past trauma, and the critical role of boundaries in your relationships. If your triggers are getting in the way of you creating deeper connections, this is the episode for you. Episode 64, Intimacy is so much more than sex. Intimacy is so much more than just physical and sexual, but many times it can be confused to mean only a sexual experience. In this solo episode, I take a deep dive into me-see, or better known as intimacy. I'll talk about what intimacy is and the barriers that could get in the way of exploring deeper intimacy with yourself and another. The ability to understand this, explore it, and what might be keeping you from having deeper intimate connections can be the difference between having a mediocre relationship and having a soul-nourishing, fulfilling relationship. If you're struggling with cultivating deeper intimacy in your relationship, run, don't walk to this episode. Episode 65, Storytelling, Self-Discovery, and Sex Cults, Lived Experience with L.L. Kirshner. This episode is the first in my Lived Experience series. In this episode, I talk with LL Kirshner, an award-winning screenwriter, author, and relationship diversity explorer. LL shares her personal journey of self-discovery following an unexpected breakup, a foray into a sex cult, and her discovery of polyamory. She is a master at storytelling, and she has some great ones, especially having to do with her journey into relationship diversity. Episode 66, Default versus Intentional Monogamy. Monogamy is a very valid choice of relationship structure, but as more people move into non-traditional relationships, it often gets a bad rap. In this solo episode, I'll unpack the pitfalls of default monogamy, talk about what that even is, and explore the freedom and fulfillment that can come from choosing monogamy intentionally after careful consideration and self-reflection. This shift can help you take ownership of your relationships, empowering you to design a relationship that is the best expression of your authentic self. If monogamy is the structure most aligned with who you are, but you want to bring more awareness into your choice, this is the episode for you. Episode 67, Exploring Relationship Diversity, Fat Justice, and Self-Acceptance with Tamara Pincus. In this episode, I have the honor of talking with Tamara Pincus, a licensed clinical social worker, certified sex therapist, and a fierce advocate for racial justice, fat justice, and LGBTQ rights. Our conversation journeys into the heart of relationship diversity, discussing Tamara's work with LGBTQ and non-monogamous individuals and the convergence of fat liberation and relationship variations. We also tackle the critical topic of body acceptance, discussing the power of reclaiming the term fat. Tamara sheds light on how fat justice is tied with releasing shame and promoting self-love, reinforcing the need to make peace with our bodies. This is a super powerful conversation. If you struggle with body acceptance with yourself or others, this one is for you. Episode 68. Don't freak out. It's time to launch your new structure. Here's how to be intentional. This solo episode focuses on the moments right before launching into a new relationship dynamic, the launch, and the time directly following the launch. Whether going from soloamory into monogamy, monogamy into polyamory, or any combination, I give you some thoughts to help you have the best experience possible. The more intentional and conscious you are about this time could determine how this experience goes. I truly want the best for you, and learning from my experience and others' experiences could give you more information to navigate these moments where you are going from something known to something unknown. Episode 69. This is part of our Lived Experience series called Going Beyond Labels, a deep dive into identity and diverse relationships with my guest, Elle. In this episode, I have a really fascinating conversation with Elle, an eclectic artist, fitness instructor, intuitive reader, and home decluttering specialist. Elle opens up about their fascinating journey of non-monogamy starting from their teenage years and the unique dynamic of being both bi and pan in their relationships. We go into the complex world of identity labels and their potential implications. We share our personal experiences and the sense of relief when finding a label that feels resonant. So, if you're ready for a deep dive into unique relationship dynamics, tune in and stay curious. Episode 70, Breaking Free from External Opinions to Reclaim Your Autonomy and Design Your Own Unique Relationship. Have you ever felt shackled by the judgmental voices of society or even those closest to you? In this solo episode, I reveal my personal story of breaking free from the stifling expectations and opinions of others. This path of self-discovery and reclamation is imperative when beginning your exploration into diverse relationship structures. This episode is not just about breaking free, but also about building a more authentic, empowered existence. It is a celebration of the unique you. Episode 71, Stepping Off the Relationship Escalator, a conversation with intimacy coach Daniela Stevens. Do you ever feel like your relationships are stuck on autopilot, dictated by societal norms rather than your own needs and desires? What if you could reimagine your relationships in a way that's not only non-traditional, but also deeply fulfilling? This is exactly what I explore in my conversation with sex and intimacy coach Daniela Stevens. Unpacking societal structures, we dive into the concept of the relationship escalator. This idea breaks free from the linear progression of relationships, encouraging us to pause and maybe even step off the escalator at any point. We also talk about the importance of nurturing love, pleasure, and care within ourselves as a way to extend the same to others. If you feel pressured to ride the relationship escalator and are wanting another way to be in relationships, check this episode out. Episode 72. Can embracing imperfection lead you to more fulfilling relationships? This solo episode is an exploration of the debilitating impact of perfectionism on relationships. I explore how striving for perfection can damage intimate relationships, specifically when engaging in more non-traditional structures. Even though I talk about self-growth and evolution, when done through perfectionism, this process can compound wounds and work against healing and growth. So how do you balance digging into your self-growth with having realistic expectations of yourself? Learn about the subjectiveness of perfectionism and how to gracefully release these illusory perfectionistic goals, all through the lens of diverse relationship structures. Episode 73, Understanding Autism and Mixed Neurotype Relationships with Dr. Angela Lauria. This episode is an enlightening conversation with my special guest, Dr. Angela Lauria. Drawing from her personal experiences, Angela offers a unique lens to view the world of neurodivergence. We then shift the focus to relationships and challenges of being in one with someone who is neurotypical. Communication is one of those challenges. We also discuss the reasons behind certain behaviors that might seem incongruous to neurotypical individuals and shed light on how neurotypical partners can navigate these dynamics. This was another one of those episodes where I learned so much about others and myself. If you struggle with communication with your partner or partners, this episode could give you some wonderful perspectives on why. Episode 74, a PSA, you are unique. Why are you trying to fit your relationship into a box? Are you tired of trying to fit your relationship into society's cookie-cutter mold? Ever felt like a failure because the right way of doing relationships doesn't feel right to you? In this solo episode, I break away from societal dictations on relationships and celebrate the diversity in our connections. From monogamy to polyamory, relationship anarchy, and everything in between, I take a closer look at various relationship structures, examining the beauty in each unique expression of love. Remember, there is no one right way to be in a relationship. If you've been searching for permission to be your unique self in your unique relationships, look no further. This is the episode for you. Episode 75, Anxious Attachment and People-Pleasing in Non-Monogamous Relationships with Paige Bond. In this episode, I talk with licensed marriage and family therapist Paige Bond and get her insights into the complexity of non-monogamous relationships. Paige shares her personal encounters with different relationship structures and how she navigated her own bouts of jealousy and the impulse to people please. Paige offers really tangible advice on managing jealousy and overcoming people-pleasing tendencies with her 5C method. These are invaluable tips for anyone in any relationship structure and especially helpful for those in ethically non-monogamous ones. Episode 76, Harnessing the Power of Curiosity to Reshape and Reimagine Our Relationships. I end all of my solo episodes with stay curious. It's that important. So I decided to dedicate an entire episode to the importance of curiosity and its incredible potential in reshaping our relationships. I even lay out super easy, manageable tips to cultivate your own curiosity practice. I have a really busy life, so simple is the only way a daily practice can become a healthy habit. Can you imagine what your life would be like this time next year if you intentionally brought a level of curiosity into your daily life? Not only that, but I believe curiosity has the power to heal the divisiveness in our world. Check out this episode to learn more. Episode 77, Shattering Stigmas Surrounding the Choice to Be Single with Jess Fry. Have you ever stopped to ponder the societal expectations wrapped up in our relationship statuses? What if you could unravel these norms, embrace your independence, and discover the joy of choosing a solo life? In this episode, I talk with Jess Fry, a single mother and advocate for racial and social justice, where she shares her personal journey of soloamory. Jess's insights are a testament to the liberating power in choosing to live single and the self-discovery that follows. Breaking societal norms isn't easy, but Jess's story serves as inspiration. We get personal, discussing the societal pressures of conforming to traditional relationship structures and the stigmas associated with being solo. Episode 78. How to navigate the holiday stress within your diverse relationships. It's more than possible. In this episode, I focus on the holiday season and offer tips to navigate this specifically within a diverse relationship structure. The holidays are often synonymous with stress and expectations. Through the lens of my personal experiences, I'll lead you through a way to make this season more supportive, nurturing, and fulfilling. We'll do this by reflecting on past holiday seasons, identifying how the holiday energy influences us, and approaching this year's festivities with renewed curiosity and self-awareness. Expect to pick up some useful tips on striking a balance, setting intentions, and putting self-care first. Whether you're soloamorous, monogamous, polyamorous, or like I always say, anything in between, this episode will help you acknowledge your desires and priorities and give you ideas about how to bring them into reality. Episode 79, How to Be Intentional and Redesign Your Relationships to Prepare for 2024, a step-by-step guide. What if you could gain clarity about your relationship needs, desires, and intentions and intentionally use those to redesign your relationship? That's the key word here, redesign. In this solo episode, I guide you through a potent 2024 relationship roadmap exercise. We reflect on the past year's highlights, challenges, and lessons, using them as a springboard to set intentions for 2024. The potential of this exercise can induce a quantum leap in your relationships, especially when done individually and with partners. Set the stage for a year of fulfilling relationships that are brought into the present moment, aligning with who you are and what you want now by crafting and revisiting your unique relationship vision for 2024. And this episode will be great no matter when you get to it. If you started it in February of 2024 or March of 2024, it still will give you lots and lots of information to help you vision and redesign your relationship. And that leads us to this episode. Oh, what an amazing 6 months it's been for this podcast. And I'm so excited for what's coming in 2024. More incredible guests, more incredible conversations, and after much thought, I've decided to move into the YouTube world with relationship diversity. I wanted a place where I could share more with different lengths of videos, giving you the choice to learn something depending on how much time you had. I plan to have shorter videos, maybe 5 to 7 minutes long, talking about one idea associated with relationship diversity. I also plan to have shorts that are 60 seconds long, and I plan to bring a video component to my current podcast episodes. I'm accessing my past career as a director and curating a more abstract visual representation to the audio version. But even more than that, I am craving connection with you. Yes, you listening to this right now. In YouTube, I feel I'll be able to engage more with people who respectfully engage in the content. I'll be able to answer questions and provide resources to further your exploration. If you feel called to connect with me there, I'd love that. I'll start posting content there beginning in January of 2024, and you'll find the link to get there super easily right in the show notes. Once again, thank you for being with me in 2023. It's been a year filled with all the emotions and feels. Sending you love, and as always, remember to stay curious. Thanks so much for listening to the Relationship Diversity Podcast. Want to learn more about relationship diversity? I've got a free guide I'd love to send you. Go to www.relationshipdiversitypodcast.com to get yours sent right to you. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to the podcast. You being here and participating in the conversation about relationship diversity is what helps us create a space of inclusivity and acceptance together. The more comfortable and normal it is to acknowledge the vast and varied relating we all do, the faster we'll shift to a paradigm of conscious, intentional, and diverse relationships. New episodes are released every Thursday. Stay connected with me through my website, carriejeruslow.com, Instagram, or TikTok. Stay curious. Every relationship is as unique as you are.